Well, South Korea's President Yoon Suk Yeol has vowed to fight on after he was impeached last night.
For more on that, we are joined now by Kayla Orta, who is the Senior Associate for the Korea Foundation at the Foundation Centre at the Wilson Centre. Good morning to you, Kayla. Now, Yoon Suk Yeol has been successfully impeached as of last night. That decision will now go to the Constitutional Court. Just take us through the process from now.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. Yes, we heard earlier this morning, U.S. time, that Yoon Suk Yeol has been officially impeached. So for next steps, this will now move to the Constitutional Court in South Korea, which will review the case to determine whether or not the impeachment is actually upholdable based on constitutional law. Now, they have about 180 days to review, and we have seen them historically move quite quickly, as fast as 3 months, even once as fast as 2 months. But currently, the status is likely to take a bit more time, as there's much to be discussed on the ground in Korea.
Despite the vote and now this process ahead at the Constitutional Court, Yoon Suk Yeol says that he will never give up, that he will continue to fight on. He's even described the vote as a temporary pause to his presidency. What do you expect from him now?
Well, as we know, with the impeachment process in effect, this means that his presidential powers are now suspended. So presidential powers are now held by the Prime Minister, Han Duck Soo. He'll be taking over as acting head of state and responsible for ensuring Korea's political stability, both at home and internationally. Now, that doesn't preclude Yoon from making large statements, referring, discussing his actions, trying to explain what had happened, especially given the fact that there's currently investigations regarding the possibility of insurrection. So we are likely to see, given his character and his past record, a continuation of commentary, but the presidential power is now held by the Prime Minister.
Yes, as you say, South Korean Prime Minister Han Duck Soo, now the acting president. But in terms of looking for stability in South Korea, does it have to wait until this Constitutional Court process is done before there is any sort of more permanent leadership in place?
Unfortunately, yes, this process does take a bit of time. Thankfully, now with the passing of the impeachment movement, it does mean that we have a bit of a constitutional roadmap that South Korea will be following. Now, there's set days and times when procedures are supposed to happen. Unfortunately, it does mean, though, that until the Constitutional Court rules either for or against the passing of impeachment, that Prime Minister will hold the official power of the presidential office, which means he'll have quite a bit on his shoulders, especially focusing on presenting South Korea as a strong nation abroad.
I'll get to the situation abroad in a moment, but after the short-lived declaration of martial law by Mr Yoon, there were protests on the streets. What's been the reaction so far from the impeachment?
Well, as we're seeing, this is a very partisan space in Korea. Unfortunately, as it's fiercely partisan, there's a great divide between the two different parties. So early on, we saw protesters, peaceful protesters, I should say, taking to the streets in Korea to express their concern, frustration, and outrage about the martial law. No matter if that it was short-lived, it was for many seen as not indicative of South Korea's democracy as it stands today. And with the announcement of impeachment, we are seeing that supporters of DP, as well as maybe more anti-Yoon protesters, have been taking to the streets and applauding the movement as upholding their democratic standards. Now, we also, of course, have those who support President Yoon, and they were also protesting and demonstrating peacefully in support of his movement. And so likely we'll continue to see some vocalization of either their frustration or concern about the impeachment process, while we're simultaneously seeing others cheering this on.
Now, after all this instability, where does this place Syria on the international stage moving forward?
Well, for Korea, I think right now we're probably going to see, as I mentioned, Prime Minister taking this over. We're likely to see a continuation of Yoon's policy. He's there to make sure to maintain as much stability as possible. He's not there to rock the boat. And we're also likely to see the United States and other allies talking to the strength of the alliance with South Korea, particularly the United States and other partners in the region, to help make sure that in this time of domestic uncertainty, as this continues through the proper constitutional procedures, that Korea is still presenting a strong international front.
Kayla Orta, Senior Associate for the Korea Centre at the Wilson Centre, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.